Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Google partners. Thanks for tuning in to today's Hangout on Air. This Hangout on Air is going to be about growing holiday sales with Google Shopping. My name is Philip Shearer.
I'm Kirill Famino.
And we are based in Google's Dublin office, working as product specialists on the Google Shopping product. So before we jump into what we're going to talk about today, what we really want to encourage is to make this as live and interactive as possible. So if you want to post your questions as we're talking, make sure to do so just to the side of the video. We promise we'll get to all of the questions we can at the end of the video. So we'll prompt you one more time, hopefully halfway through, but do pop your questions in.
Cool.
So what are we going to look at today, Kirill?
All right. We're going to look at, Philip is going to run us through a little bit of what to expect from the upcoming holidays, some trends, some stats, some benchmarks for you to be aware of. And then we're going to jump right into the Google Shopping world with our little bits of story of how we want shopping to develop, of how you can utilize shopping best to reach your customers, and basically give you some tips to set up, to optimize, to make those last few checks before the holidays, to make sure your campaigns are top-notch, driving the highest return on investment during the holidays.
Cool. Shall we jump straight in?
Let's do it.
All right, so first section, I really want to talk to you about being probably the busiest quarter for you or busiest period for you is the holiday season, what we should look out for as advertisers and as Googlers. So first thing is each year, I know I put up this slide and I talk about how big digital is. Well, last year it didn't escape that. We brought record holiday traffic. Now, this is a global Hangout on Air, so I've taken one of my favorite European countries, the Netherlands. I hope there's someone tuning in from the Netherlands who will appreciate this. I've taken you guys as a benchmark just to show a rough indicator of where we're at. Last year, we had a 73% increase in total holiday traffic year over year. Like, that's phenomenal growth. I don't care who you are or where you are, 73% in traffic growth is huge, particularly just for one season. What's really interesting is a lot of that growth in traffic was actually pushed from mobile clicks coming in during that holiday period. So what I would do is nearly pause at this point and say, well, we'll talk about it, but are you set up and ready to capture that holiday traffic? And do you as agencies, do you talk to your clients about the spike in traffic, but also the fact that that spike might come a lot from mobile? So have you got your mobile assets in place? Are they as quick and as good as they could be?
Right. Even for those advertisers that are deliberately preparing for the growth in mobile, they're sometimes not expecting the growth to be so high. Like last January, this number actually used to be 300%. So please be aware of those trends. Please keep in mind the year-over-year growth trends and be prepared, be over-prepared rather than under-prepared for this.
Exactly. And speaking of being prepared, well, actually, this weekend, it's all about to kick off. So 40% of shoppers say that they had started their holiday shopping before Halloween last year. Halloween being this weekend. So Kirill, have you started your holiday shopping?
I haven't, to be honest, but this is just because the item I want, and I'm a very big VR fan, the PS VR that's coming out is nice. on pre-order. So whoever is there that is selling VR, please advertise it to me. I'm going to buy it straight away.
Kirill's obviously speaking about himself, but luckily for my friends and family, I started my holiday shopping. So look, honestly, this is the weekend that it all kicks off. Right now, you should be thinking of, okay, what are your key trends and how can you get your businesses and your clients in front of the right users at the right time? So speaking of kicking off, look, there's a huge amount of traffic coming, but some of these dates are bigger than others. Depending on where you are in the world, there will be key dates for you. There's one key date that no matter who you are or where you are, that we can't move on without mentioning. And that's this phenomenon that started in the US, moved to the UK a number of years ago, and is pretty much spreading across the world, is this Black Friday trend, whereby a massive amount of advertisers produce these really, really great deals just at the end of November, and it spikes our traffic hugely right the way through to what we call Cyber Monday on the Monday. So to kind of trend it out at a global perspective, I've given this graph here, whereby the vertical axis shows, in terms of the market, how mature it is for Black Friday, right? So if you're in the United States or the United Kingdom, you're at peak maturity. You know, this is an absolute phenomenon. It's been around for years. But interestingly, if you're in the United States, not only is it a really, really mature thing that's happening, but the horizontal axis is showing the query growth year over year, right? So one of the most mature markets, the United States, is still seeing 200% query growth year over year. Or if you're in Germany or Spain, say, you could be seeing about 175% to 200% plus query growth in pretty mature business. So my question for you is, do you know what your peak date is? Are you ready for it? Are you prepared for it? Or is it even Black Friday? Beyond Black Friday, of course, there's a number of key seasons, right? We've got Halloween coming up, we've got Singles Days, we've got Christmas, et cetera, et cetera. So what we're looking at is not just a linear chart of traffic coming in, but huge seasonal spikes that play up and down. And the question would be, do you have your budgets in place? Do you have your assets ready to take full advantage of this high intent period? So to find your key dates, well, there's a huge, vast number of resources depending on what market you're in. But the one I really love playing with is Google Trends. Just go into Google, type in Google Trends, and play around with this tool if you haven't before. Really, really interesting is what I did is I popped on worldwide last few months, and I took a look at Christmas gifts, which I thought would be a really popular keyword, and benchmarked that versus the search volume for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So Black Friday being the blue line is absolutely huge, Cyber Monday quite big, and Christmas gifts actually it nearly flat lines compared to those two. And what's very interesting is you can further break it down by what region you're in to see specifically what the trends may be and what might be related to those terms. So go ahead, check it out when you can.
That's absolutely great, by the way. But also don't forget to apply it back to the accounts that you're looking at, to your businesses that you're developing, to take a look, to take a chance to look back at your previous year's performance. Don't only look at the click growth, the volume growth, but also check that column for lost impression share, because we know for sure that probably you have some impression share that you didn't manage to capture last year as well.
Exactly. Learn from what we did last year. And speaking of just capturing impression share, it's not just about gathering as many clicks as possible. Well, to the same hand, as you gather those clicks, there's a really, really high purchase intent. So here you can see that we've mapped out the average conversion rate between November and December. And it goes up to a 65% growth in conversion rates during those peak holiday seasons. So this is really where the money is being made, right? Is getting in front of the right person at the right time, taking advantage of all of the extra clicks, but knowing that there's a huge purchase intent as people really want to buy this time of year. Okay, so my tip for you is something we work with our teams here and our clients here a lot, is just plan those peak dates and really just write them down, map them out, be it 3 months in advance or a year in advance. Know what you need to do before your specific key dates, maybe 4 weeks, maybe a year in advance, depending on how much work and effort is required, right? If it's rewriting an entire mobile website, well, make sure that's way ahead. But if it's simply just incrementally pushing the budget up in time, yeah, we can do that the day before.
Yeah. And Phil, I noticed that your calendar doesn't stop there in the end of December, right? It goes all through the January. Why is that?
Oh, this is the term we've coined, Christmas 2.0. You know, on December 26th, after you get all your presents and you think, oh, I might actually return a few of these, or, oh, maybe that person didn't know me so well and they got me the voucher. Or, hey, look, if you don't have that, there's also the January sales, right? So there's a huge, huge, huge volume we see where the trends graph goes right the way down and then spikes back up again as this purchase intent comes back right at the end of December into January.
Good spot.
So let's talk about shopping. There's one overall tip I'll give you about seasonality and shopping, and that's just how to structure your campaigns effectively. So what I'd like to say is there's one main campaign we have, our core campaign or our tail campaign, right? And this contains all of our products, and we'll put a low priority label on there, potentially low bidding as well. And what that'll do is it'll soak up all of the clicks on maybe your 100 to 100,000 products and give you kind of an indicator without you having to optimize every single product, just give you an indicator of what's selling and what might be valuable for you depending on the seasons. That will help feed your next level of campaigns, and that's your top performers, your torso campaigns. These campaigns contain best sellers, best return on investment, depending on what your KPI is. And what you'll always do is put a higher priority, a medium priority label on there, so that when someone actually looks for a product, it is triggered from that specific campaign. Reason we wanted to come out of that campaign is likely it's a higher bid, And likely you never want to go dark on your budget there, right? You want to have a maxed out budget. Here comes the seasonality tip. The only time, or one of the few times I would use a high priority label is for holiday or seasonal stuff that you want to sell. The reason being is it might be a top performer, it might be a core, but you want to have it in its own campaign. You want to put a high priority label in there so it comes straight out of that campaign, and then you get transparency in your holiday sales. You can set a fixed budget that maybe never goes dark, or maybe it's a certain amount. That's roughly the seasonal structure, and that campaign can turn on and off depending on when you need it.
Right. And I think this is a little bit of an oversimplified version for using the priorities and labels, but obviously don't forget that we have 5 of them. We have 5 custom labels, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of you know how to use it efficiently, but this is the time where you need to utilize them and need to be absolutely sure that they are that they are correct, and you know that you're structuring your campaigns around your labels and the priorities as well.
Great. So one big tip, and I will beg of everyone to do this, is there are times when products go offline, and there are actually times when we'll issue a warning, a critical warning that an entire account will go offline. There is a place within the Merchant Center where you can click Settings, General, and edit your primary or your critical contact. So I would ask for everyone to jump in there when you get a chance, check that that critical contact is not just one person in your organization, but a team alias. That means that when that one person goes on holidays, the whole team is still notified of any warnings of suspension so that we can act upon that straight away and make sure it's resolved before the account goes offline.
Even if it's one person, sometimes we put the emails that we never actually use outside of the Merchant Center. So we just make sure that if this contact is, if you're putting this email in, this is the email that your team or your person would actually read.
Exactly. We never want to see a spam at yourcompany.com or Merchant Center at yourcompany.com. Okay, so just to summarize up the seasonality piece, and then we'll jump straight into some more product heavy stuff. So plan for the higher shopping purchase intent. People are ready to buy, they're willing to buy. Make sure you're there. Make sure you're there with budgets, manage them correctly with seasonal campaigns, and then set priorities in those top tier campaigns. And that's really it from a seasonal point of view. So what have we got for product here?
Cool. Yeah. So great stuff, great trends. Very excited about the shopping, as you should be as well, as we see this massive, massive, massive increase. And basically over the last couple of years, we've tried to do everything to make shopping as compelling a format for your customers as possible, which is part of why the conversion rates increase, why you should be enjoying this nice and converting holiday traffics as well. So I want to just take a few steps back for those of you who have seen shopping ads a couple of years ago, which were a completely different format, completely less, much less user-friendly, I would say. And right now, if we just compare the experiences both on mobile and on desktop, they're very user-friendly. They're optimized for the device that people are searching at, and they are right there for your customers to look at. So just to recap a little bit in terms of how we are positioning our shopping within the search. On mobile, we just actually increased the carousel size. This is a scrollable carousel where basically your ads are ranked along all of the other ads. We just increased it to 15 ads to give you a little bit more chance to show your top products within the carousel. And on desktop, just remember that the shopping is the only format right now that shows to the right-hand side on the desktop search. But also, if this is a highly specific query, like somebody looking for a particular present, like I'm looking for a present for myself, egoistically, as Phil just mentioned. I'm looking for the iPhone 6, for example, or a PlayStation VR. We can put this very, very beautiful unit where we aggregate all of the offerings from all of our merchants in one single unit that has all the filters in there that everybody can actually customize and pick the one, the particular product in the particular size, particular color that they need. So the top tip there is a lot of these formats are based on you having proper GTINs in place, having all the sizes, all the colors, variants. So definitely make sure that your product data is there. We're going to talk a little bit about this in just a second, but make sure your trade identifier numbers are there, that your colors and sizes are there, so you can appear in the most compelling format in the most relevant search.
Yeah, I love these ads. I mean, I roll back a couple of years and you type in Apple iPhone 6 and you see 5 different Apple iPhone 6s. Now it's just so easy to compare, to click through. And I love that we're doing this because we spent so long, and thank you for giving us all of your GTIN numbers, because we can make these beautiful, compelling formats now.
Cool. Let's stop on mobile for just a second more, because obviously this is not enough to sometimes to convince the advertiser to be all in on mobile. Don't forget that mobile is a value beyond just the last click. We have the window shopping experience where people are looking for something offline and then coming back home and buying online, or vice versa. So if you have brick and mortar store, this is an additional incremental store visit value to you. But overall, just if we're looking at the online benefits for our mobile shopping traffic, we see, again, as Philip mentioned before, we see a very similar traffic spike in the conversion rates for mobile as for the overall traffic during the holiday season. So definitely keep that in mind when you are talking about mobile traffic. It's also worth mentioning that if you are appearing in the first half of the carousel, the first few positions that the user will see when they look for a particular product, you are driving yourself 3 times more clicks than the rest of the carousel. So make sure that if this is a priority, and my hint is it should be a priority for you, you need to make sure that you're there, you're right in front of the eyes of your customers.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, guilty. I'll probably scroll halfway through the carousel, even all the way to the end. But if I see the product I like right in that amazing retail space at the front, look, I'm going to click on that, and that's the click gone to that first or second advertiser.
Cool. We're not stopping there, though, and we're testing, we're playing around, we're expanding the shopping opportunities for you to show your shopping ads in a more and more diverse manner, and way down the funnel as well, down the purchase funnel. One of the things that we are testing at the moment, and some of them you might actually see within your shopping searches, we are starting to rank the products based on this huge amount of data that we have and the machine learning algorithms that we can pull the reviews from your website and aggregate it to have the top or the best experience on Google search as well, as we know that a lot of people are actually looking for top and the best in class products. The second thing we're doing is we're experimenting with putting shopping in the image search. A lot of people ask why, but we know for sure that whenever people are coming to image search, a lot of times their number one question when they're looking for a particular thing is, where is that I can buy this thing? And this is particularly important for something like apparel, searching for nice dresses or footwear or furniture. So we see a massive amount of people using the image search to enhance their shopping experience. So we want to show you right there when this matters.
Yeah, I mean, when this thing came out, I just thought it was brilliant, because I spent so long looking for actual inspiration, be it for homeware, for apparel, on my image search. And I can't tell you how many times that I actually found a product I quite liked and had no idea where that product came from or who sold it, be it custom or be it a reseller that I just can't find.
Talking about the inspiration, our biggest source of inspiration, the YouTube, where a lot of bloggers, a lot of product designers, developers, reviewers are putting their videos out there, is also a source for you to enhance your shopping campaign. If you're just opting in the search partners, you are still eligible to show your relevant shopping products around the same reviews, product reviews videos, and all of the other videos that are related to your products. So just to stop on this for a second, we actually have 2 different types of shopping experience on YouTube. And the first one that we found most success with so far, and we have a lot of advertisers excited about this, is the True View for Shopping campaign. So if you're a brand or if you're advertising a particular seasonal video for your holidays, well, be sure to include your shopping feed alongside the video so that people can actually click through and convert right there from the ad that you're advertising. We found tremendous success, and we have several very interesting success stories. One of them being the US large e-commerce furniture manufacturer Wayfair that increased the ROI on the TrueView campaigns by 3 times compared to similar performing YouTube campaigns. And again, as I said earlier, just by opting in the search partners, you are already eligible to show alongside the relevant videos where your products will appear.
You know, this is great because shopping was traditionally just so far down the funnel that I think we nearly missed a beat, that we could move up a little bit further. And the more I read about, or the more I even watch personally, these vloggers, these product review channels dedicated to just a pair of hands reviewing products, the more I realize this is an area that we really want to get into, right? These are some of the most inspirational. They have huge followings, and really anything they say often goes, right? Their fans really, really trust them, and they build up a great level of trust. So having your product right there at the right time couldn't be more important.
And definitely keep an eye on the new formats. There is still a lot more to come, and we're just developing a lot of new and exciting experience for your customers as well. So this is how the format looks, but what is it that you can go ahead and do right now with your existing advertisers, or maybe with the new advertisers that want to get in the wagon in the last minutes before Christmas, to set up and optimize your campaigns properly? So we collected a few of the tips, a few of the new stuff, a few of the old tools that you can go ahead and use pretty much right now without actually a lot of the technical knowledge even. So the first one, and we really want to stress the importance of this one for setting up new clients, is called Google Merchant Sheets. And it's just a simple add-on to your Google Chrome that basically lets you create a shopping like you would create any kind of spreadsheet, with a lot of enhancement from our custom tailored format. So you can actually fill in as easy as filling a CSV file or an Excel file, check it right there before uploading to the Merchant Center for any kind of errors or notifications, fix any errors, and upload it straight to the Merchant Center. So this has been super, super useful for especially our long tail merchants, smaller clients maybe. So if you have been thinking about acquiring those tricky clients that you're not really sure where the cost benefit line is because you need to develop the XML solutions for them or any API solutions, well, this is an easy way to set up shopping. It literally, this particular example is my feed for my imaginary store, and I did it within 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, I mean, we've been working on shopping for a number of years, and we really heard you guys in that feeds is a major pain point in terms of setup. And like Kirill said, there's a place you go where it just doesn't make sense anymore to actually get the feed set up depending on how small the advertiser is. This is, I'm delighted to say, our answer, and it's really, really, really useful. If you haven't been in here before, if you haven't used this add-on, try and use it, see how good it is, see how quick it scrapes the website. You can make a few cleanups very quickly. You can even validate right on the right-hand panel. So really great way to activate that longer tail segment of your agency business. Cool.
Speaking about the simplicity of setup and the complexity of current setup, maybe for some of you, if you have retailers advertising through or setting up their website through one of these 3 platforms presented, Magento, PrestaShop, or BigCommerce, they're huge, huge e-commerce platforms all over the world, basically taking most of one of the 3 major world e-commerce platforms. So it's highly likely that you would have those clients within your portfolios. Well, we have just launched an easy way to set up the shopping campaigns for those clients as well. It's literally a click away from their platform to the Merchant Center to just bypass the stage where you create the XML feed, fix the errors, and everything by just taking all of the information from the platform and putting it directly through the Merchant Center to use as a proxy for the feed, which is an incredible way. And this has been one of the top standing asks from you for years and years. And now we're finally excited to have partnerships with this 3 key platform. And again, stay tuned for more updates on this.
Exactly. We're dedicated to making feeds easier for all of you. At this point, I just want to remind you, if there are any questions, do add them to just the side of the video and we will take them all at the end. Kirill, I have a question for you.
All right.
You've given us 2 new ways to set up feeds.
Cool.
Traditionally, my agency has been setting up feeds in the same way over and over again. Should I switch to these 2 new ways? Which ones should I switch to? What do you think?
Great question, Philip. I think it has a lot of items and you feel that the data quality is really, really poor because you don't know where they're taking it from. They cannot fix it very fast. They have a lot of gaps. Maybe they didn't take their inventory, all of their inventory online. Well, maybe you can try to switch up to one of those methods above. If you are already well set up and well optimized with your existing clients on shopping, we wouldn't definitely recommend this. So this will be a case-by-case basis. So definitely use the existing feeds. We're not in any way touching them or in their functionality. But this is just an additional option for you because this is supposed to make both setup and optimization more easy and streamlined.
Great.
Cool. So let's move on. So you've just set up your shopping campaigns, or maybe you have been running them for a while. But mistakes and errors are gonna surface. No matter what you do, we see them over and over again. And we have this little thing called feed rules that a lot of you actually might be using paid third-party tools to do exactly the thing that feed rules are doing. The feed rules are a nice and easy way to set up the rules, to customize some of the rules to fill in your data gaps, or even add additional stuff like custom labels. You can easily create dynamic rules to populate your custom labels with values. Number one, ask also from the agencies, as you're not touching directly the feed, but just applying some rules to the feed to then apply it after the processing. So major functionality change and improvement for especially a lot of the agencies that have just trouble with communicating back and forth between the clients and length of time that it takes to fix some of the errors.
Exactly, great for agencies. And there's nearly 2 sides to it, right? Feed rules helps you at the start, once your feed is processed, just to fix a couple of things. But then where I really love feed rules is just that optimization piece, like Kirill mentioned, adding in a couple of attributes maybe you didn't have, or maybe appending color or size to the title to really make your ad stand out. And those little changes, although they might take, 2 minutes to make a feed rule, can have a huge impact on the impressions and the clicks you're getting because you have a much more relevant ad. So do try it out, play around with it. And I think the tip we always give is test it again, and then apply it to the rest of the feed.
Great point. I think this one, this particular feature is the most underutilized feature within our merchants because right now it's a relatively new one. And even if you checked it maybe a couple of months ago, definitely come back and check it again because we've just added some new functionality there and definitely on the lookout for us to add more and more functionality to this as well. But okay, I said errors are still gonna surface no matter what you do. So how do you prioritize them, especially for ahead of the holiday seasons where you need to make sure that your top products are running? Those are the top errors in prioritization, or the top errors that we see, the top mistakes that our agencies and merchants are doing year in and year out with shopping. And the first one is really the incorrect prioritization of tasks, of what you actually need to focus on. So remember the Pareto rule that 20% of your effort bring 80% of your return. So spend those 20% to really understand where your data gaps lie. So if it's a seasonal items or a best-selling seasonal items, just make sure that they are absolutely polished, because what we see is that obviously like around 20% of our items in the feed still generate around 80% of impressions and conversions. So make sure you're prioritizing right. You're prioritizing both the right products and both the right attributes to fix. So obviously start with the required one and move on to recommended just ahead of the holidays. Beyond that, just the very common mistakes and errors that we see are the inconsistencies in price and availability, poor title structure, not enough product type categorization that doesn't really let you play around with your campaign structure and structure it granularly enough, and more importantly, track it granularly enough. and very low resolution images.
So I can definitely see fixes to most of these from the website or the client's end. What happens come November, December, where I have a sale running and I change my price maybe once a day, once an hour, and Google can't keep up because the feed gets submitted every 24 hours. So I get a few price and availability issues disapproved at key times. Any tips?
Right. We have two very easy solutions for those. One is called the automatic item updates. And this is based on the markup, the schema.org markup on your website, which is basically, it sounds very scary, right? But it's just a snippet of code that you mark to Google that, hey, here's my price, here's my availability, here's my item ID. Whenever the Google sees that the price, our robots see that the prices change on the website, they update it in the feed automatically. Because the feed takes so long to process, it can be 6 to 8 hours. If your prices and availabilities change more frequently, we definitely recommend using the schema.org, just mark it for yourself as automatic item updates, and definitely research more in there. For those who are not really comfortable with touching the website and putting the additional codes on the website, we have the online product inventory updates. And this is just a special type of feed that has only 3 columns. One is ID, second is price, third is availability. So whenever you update your price, you can just feed it through this separate feed that's going to match it to the normal feed and update accordingly. The benefit, it also is processed much, much faster than the regular feed.
Great tips, great tips.
So now you're probably well optimized, your data quality is there, you're moving on to your traffic and how do you set and more importantly measure your KPIs. And here are the 4 major ones that we see, and we hope that you're close to the top right corner there. But let's start just with the clicks and why it's not a really good metric. So we see that a massive amount of retailers, of advertisers that are advertising on shopping with us are using conversion values, which automatically allows them to use return on ad spend. So how many dollars you're getting back on every dollar that you invest with us, right? So that's why clicks and CPAs don't really tell us the whole story. If you see, obviously, you'll see the conversions increasing. Obviously, you'll see the CPAs increasing because of the auction pressure. But don't be worried. Look beyond that, at least to the value that you're getting out of the conversions. Or the pro tip is to look at the total profit that you're generating. Because you might find out that you might actually sacrifice a little bit of this CPA in favor of the total number of conversion that you are eligible to receive with a higher impression share, thus generating the higher profit.
Exactly. I nearly see this as an evolution of 10 years plus of Google AdWords, right? We started with CPCs and we thought that was great. And then we introduced conversion tracking and we stayed there for a while. And then the really sophisticated, advertisers, they've moved on to return on ad spend. But really, particularly in a high volume period where conversion rates are quite high, you really want to maximize that and understand, okay, well, if I sacrifice a bit of CPA, add some more volume, what's my total profit going to look like? It takes a little bit more work, but definitely worthwhile, particularly for the next 3 months.
Right. So as we said before, definitely come back and look at your impression shares, because even if your last year's CPAs were okay, your conversions were okay, you might find out that you lost 80 to 90% of your impressions just because you were so very comfortable with your current CPAs and didn't really risk to go all in during the holiday season. And finally, you know that not all your users are created equal, and absolutely emphasize it within your shopping campaigns. So we have remarketing lists for search ads. Just like for search, we also absolutely recommend adding it to shopping campaigns because we see a huge decrease in the CPA and an additional uplift on conversions when just applying the remarketing list with the corresponding bids. And once you did, just make sure that you are structuring them around the funnel from just simple homepage visitors to the people who maybe abandoned the carts or have been with you, have purchased from you before. If you're maxed out on that, well, definitely check the time frames that you're advertising for, maybe you want to upsell to those people who bought something from you last year. Our remarketing lists can go for more than a year right now at the moment.
Great tip. So I see this one as, look, we've got so many targeting options, so much volume coming in, definitely conversion rates are peaking, but can you drive any more efficiencies, right? Can you value beyond just a standard user? And knowing your audiences and bidding accordingly is definitely the leap we've made on Google Shopping over the last year or two. Okay, we'll take some questions.
Should we?
All right. So we've got one question from Michael we'll go through today. If you have more questions after today, for sure, leave them in the comments box. We can try to come back in and answer them as best we can. But let's do this one from Michael. So, okay, he said, in the 3-tier campaign, core, torso, head, do you have the products that are in core and torso also listed in head, just using priorities to ensure delivery? So if we have 3 tiers, do the products kind of duplicate between the tiers? What do we do?
It's a great question. And I think it boils down to another very, very frequently asked question. Do priorities work in 100% of times, right? If I set high priority, medium priority, low priority, is it absolutely a guarantee that the products will show through those priority? So the key answer there is it's not a 100% guarantee. This is just the way for system to understand what products you're valuing more than the other products. So you can have them in 3 campaigns. You can have the copies of the same products in the 3 campaigns, but it's highly likely that it will show in the high priority products, especially if you have higher bid there and a higher priority. So obviously, if you have lower bid than in the lower priority campaign, it really doesn't make sense, and you will lose on the auction in your high priority, which go to the lower priority. Hope you not lost me there. But the answer to this is, if you want to be absolutely sure that you're differentiating the campaigns, just use the exclusions, use the campaign filters, use the exclude everything else bucket, so that your traffic is absolutely 100% divided across 3 campaigns.
Yeah, I mean, this is the pro tip. A lot of people don't use them and everything works fine because the bidding structure is fine. But one thing we often do see is that if you have multiple products across tiers, if you're running out of budget in one tier, well, immediately the product will start coming out of the lower tier more and more and more. So just be aware of that. If it's a campaign that maybe doesn't have a lot of budget, it might be worthwhile blocking it out from another tier also. Cool. All right, so let's do a quick summary. Thank you. So we split into 2 sections for the next few months, right? We have setting up for success, and that's what we talked about, planning for that seasonality, knowing your peak dates, making sure you're there for those peak dates with budget, particularly with that higher consumer intent. And Kirill talked to you about the right feed format. Okay, so let's try and figure out, okay, well, are we setting our clients up with the correct feed format? Have you tested the 2 new feed formats, the platform integrations and the merchant sheets? And then just avoid those pitfalls, prioritize your time, work on the most effective stuff first. That's setting yourself up. The next is just optimizing to be there, right? So structure around the actual KPIs that are important to your business. So my tip is always, if you're an agency, I'm sure you do, just discuss with your client what makes sense, what would be the easiest reporting type, and how can we drive maximum success with AdWords. Be present on mobile. Okay, we say it all of the